Today, our hosts and their guests consider the moment that we find ourselves in American history. Basic freedoms, long since assumed as givens, are suddenly under assault, including our very first amendment, that of free speech.
Well, there will be no jokes about Donald Trump's comically incompetent FBI director tonight on ABC, because that corporate media giant decided to bend to the will of Donald Trump and Donald Trump's FCC commissioner, who urged ABC to at least suspend Jimmy Kimmel because of something Jimmy Kimmel said about the reaction to the killing of Charlie Kirk. At 8:04 p.m., Donald Trump tweeted, "Great news for America. The ratings-challenged Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel had zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert. If that's possible, that leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC, 3 exclamation points." From the most childish and peculiar, to put it mildly, president in history. That's what he had to say tonight. That's what he thought was important for the world to hear from him tonight. Richard Nixon never tried this. Richard Nixon, the most corrupt American president prior to Donald Trump, never tried to get Johnny Carson fired from The Tonight Show for telling jokes about Richard Nixon. No president ever tried that. No president has ever threatened corporate America more than the current Republican president. Donald Trump is the first president in history to essentially seize a piece of a private corporation, when last month the Trump administration took a 10% stake in Intel, a private company. And now that is very old-fashioned and very stupid Soviet-style socialism. Very stupid.
Chris is hearing reporting from ABC Insider saying Jimmy Kimmel is understandably livid.
Yeah, and he's looking for a way to get out of his contract.
Yeah,
that's according to insiders.
Indefinite suspension. What does that mean?
Right.
You know, it sounds like their cowardice is permanent, not indefinite.
Well, they didn't have his back, and as you know, as a performer like Jimmy Kimmel, I totally would understand that if your company didn't have your back.
Yeah. I mean, Jojo, it's ridiculous. It's chilling. Again, I keep saying you can't capitulate enough. As Kamala Harris said, what she was surprised at is the capitulation that ABC already bent the knee. You can't bend the knee enough. They already did it, but it's never going to be enough. The bully's always going to come back for more lunch money.
Exactly, which is why you have to stand up the first time. This is rule number 1 in Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny. So do not obey in advance. The second you break the seal on capitulation, it's game over. And you'll notice Trump keeps citing ABC when he threatened Jonathan Karl the other day.
Yeah.
He said, "You've already settled with me once. That was it. That's all it took."
Thank you. It gives him an excuse to lie and go, "Oh, I won," or "I was right," or "They paid me for hate speech," none of which is true. And then go, "They're going to have to come after you now, Jonathan Karl." I mean, it's just... just yesterday, the Kash Patel hearing, Kyle Cheney said, Kash Patel is suggesting falsely that the court orders denying release of the Epstein grand jury materials is somehow tying his hands on releasing documents in the custody of the FBI. The courts have made clear the FBI, DOJ can release their own files. I mean, at this point, Jojo, everybody's calling BS on this Epstein stuff and in many aspects of this Charlie Kirk investigation. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you caught this. It seems like the Trump team has finally thrown someone to throw under the bus in the Epstein thing is Alex Acosta. Who did you see that? He said it signaled a new political effort by the Trump administration to ascribe blame, which is what they always do. And the target is none other than a former top Trump administration official, one who Trump very notably once defended. Patel seemed to make a point to fault Alexander Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney in Florida in the late 2000s and cut a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein. So Trump picked Acosta as labor secretary, knowing all that. So please don't tell me. So now they're like, oh, well, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was one of his best friends. He knew very well about this sweetheart deal that he got. He rewarded Acosta for it.
Exactly. And don't forget, Pam Bondi is up all involved in this too. She was the attorney general in the state of Florida when much of this was underway, and I think that I honestly believe that one of the reasons she's untouchable, Laura Loomer has gone after her, and Laura Loomer, frighteningly, has a lot of influence, but Trump won't touch her, is because she knows where some bones are buried.
Yeah.
And I think that they need a sacrificial lamb that maybe doesn't have the goods on them as much as on him as much as she might.
I feel like this all roads lead back to Epstein. I swear, because she's there covering for him.
Yeah.
And this just whole,
right-wing hypocrites.
It just goes on and on. Pam Bondi, to your point, said businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. Really? Well, gay couples wanting a wedding cake in professional photography would like a word. I mean, they're just hypocrites on every subject, right?
Every subject. And then we're looking at it right now as it pertains to free speech. This is not about freedom of speech. This is freedom of convenient speech. And this is the ultimate hypocrisy, but also the fact that they keep gaslighting the American public into thinking that it's the left that is the one emboldening and celebrating violence. That statistically is not true at all. In fact, everyone I know came out and disavowed violence in the wake of what happened to Charlie Kirk. You could hold two truths at one time. You can say what happened to him was wrong, and that the things that he said were wrong. You can actually hold those two truths at one time, but that's not what Republicans want. They want absolutism here. You have to say what they want you to say, or you can't say anything at all.
The difference is, I keep saying that I don't know anyone that's celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, it's if they're trying to find some fringes of the internet people or something on their side, it's all the way to the top. Yeah. It's all the way to Trump. They couldn't make enough jokes about Paul Pelosi and on and on.
Well, I think it was Eric that posted his Halloween costume that year of tidy whities and a hammer.
Yeah, hilarious,
right.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And there's Trump just embarrassing us internationally again yesterday. He was reading his speech. I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, no one's even questioning it. In other news today, a concerned Fed lowered its benchmark interest rate on worries of a stagnating American economy. And his theory is breaking protocol. He's walking in front of Prince Charles. And And then there's J.D. Vance, by the way, speaking of bad jokes. J.D. Vance thinks, John Corbett said, J.D. Vance thinks it's pretty funny that fishermen in international waters are worried about being assassinated by Donald Trump. They're making jokes about, extrajudicial killings of civilians in international waters. Like, that's super funny and tough.
This is the peace-loving MAGA right? And by the way, he also mocked Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis. And he also just the other day, when asked about Melissa Hartmann, said who? The person that he said he didn't even want to be bothered to call Tim Walz about.
Right.
So it's gaslighting. It's every accusation is a confession every time.